Hi everyone. Before we get into our practice today, let's take a few moments to set our intentions and to bring our mind and body into our yoga experience. Let's take our hands together, fingertips and thumbs, and rest our thumbs against our sternum. Take a moment to spread out through your toes, to lengthen through the crown of the head, and just allow the shoulders to gracefully drape over the top of your upper back. Let's take a moment to close our eyes gently, to soften our jawlines, to soften our foreheads, and just begin to turn our attention inward to our own bodies and our own minds. And as we find this place of connection, let's remind ourselves to let go of any expectation, any self-judgment, and any competition, and set ourselves on a journey of exploration to nurture our self-confidence and to cultivate an environment that makes us feel a little bit more at peace and maybe a little bit more self-confident. So as we close our eyes, let's begin to inhale through our nose, exhaling all the air out, taking the time to breathe at our own perfect pace, allowing our breath to represent the colours, the texture, and the flavour of our practice ahead. Let's take 2 more deep breaths together. And our last one. Gently opening our eyes and preparing ourselves for practice. So now let's move into our extended angle pose, where we're going to create length through our arms, right down through our legs, start to increase our flexibility through our hips, and develop more strength in our lower body. So to start, let's take our first leg and place it towards the top of the mat, and the outside edge of our back foot's going to face to the short edge of the opposite end of our mat. So we'll take a look down and make sure that our heels are lined up, but if we're a little less flexible today, then maybe we might choose to bring the heel and arch together. Front knee stacks over our ankle, and let's take our front elbow and forearm and place it on our front thigh, creating space between our hip and our shoulder. Our extended arm, if we're taking care of shoulders, will stay on our hip, or if we want a little more sensation, inhaling and circling the arm ahead, pressing our hips forward, pressing the outside edge of our back foot down, and just carefully turning our heart center towards the ceiling. Our eyes can be up, to the side, or to the floor. Drawing our shoulder blades down and reaching from fingertip to heel. Let's take one nice deep breath here and extended angle pose. Now if we'd like to challenge ourselves or find a little bit more sensation, taking our bottom hand towards the inside of our thigh, sliding down towards the floor, reaching further with our top palm, using our hips and creating a deeper stretch in toward our lower body. Taking our top palm around as we create an even deeper stretch for our shoulders now, resting our back hand on our back thigh. Taking our forward hand, looping it underneath our front thigh, interlacing our fingers together, lifting our chest up and turning our heart center towards the ceiling, creating bound extended angle. So adding bind to create more strength and a deeper stretch for our shoulders and our chest. Taking one deep breath here, pushing through our front leg, and exhaling, sinking deeper. Now to exit safely, we're going to take our front forearm back to our thigh, take our back hand to our hip, and then take our top hand down to the floor, release our back heel, spin our toes, and take our knees to the floor. Let's set up for Dolphin pose. So Dolphin pose is just like down dog, but we get to use our forearms instead of our hands. So it's a great option if we're taking care of wrists. To start, let's place our hands directly underneath our shoulders, our knees under our hips, and have our heart center directly towards the floor. Taking our elbows and placing our elbows on the floor, and taking the time to check to make sure that our elbows are directly underneath our shoulders. Once we do that, we can bring our hands into two places. We can bring our pinkies together, clasp and interlace our fingers together, like so, or we can bring our palms flat together. Pressing in toward our forearms, tucking our toes, drawing the muscles of our arms towards our shoulders, and then pressing up through our forearms, feet hip distance apart, relaxing our heels, and bringing our head between our arms into Dolphin pose. Pressing into our forearms, strengthening our upper body while relaxing our head and neck. And if we want even more challenge today, perhaps starting to walk our legs a little closer, pressing even further into our forearms. To exit safely, walking our feet back, bending our knees, taking our hands wide, just easing back into child's pose for a nice light stretch. Now as we work into our next pose, from Dolphin, which challenges our shoulder strength, to Tabletop pose, which develops flexibility. So let's bring ourselves forward, take our knees around the outside, and come down and take a seat onto our sitting bones. Placing our feet hip distance apart, our toes, ankles, knees, and hips in the same line, and placing our hands directly behind us with our fingers facing down. Now, if our shoulders are a little tight, for a little tense around our upper body today, then we can turn our hands slightly out. Pressing into our feet, spreading our toes, drawing our shoulder blades together, and pressing our hands through the floor, tucking our tails and pressing our hips towards the ceiling. If we're finding this pose really intense today, we might choose to keep it a little lower to the floor. If we're wanting to challenge ourselves, pressing our hips skyward, lifting up through our chest, pressing our palms into the floor, and carefully allowing our head to release above our shoulders. Pressing evenly into hands and feet, maintaining connection to our breath. Taking one nice deep breath. On our exhale, floating our hips to the floor, taking our hands underneath our legs, drawing our shoulders apart, and stretching through the front of our shoulders, through the back of our shoulder blades, and in toward our low back.